Ted Bundy, the full story of America's most notorious serial killer. Early life and origins. Theodore Robert Bundy was born on November 24, 1946, to Elizabeth Louise Cowell at the Elizabeth Lund Home for Unwed Mothers in Burlington, Vermont. His biological father's identity was never confirmed. Raised in a complex family dynamic, he was led to believe his mother was his sister for much of his early life. This deception, that his grandparents were his parents, shaped the psychological foundation of a deeply troubled identity. Ted and his mother moved to Tacoma, Washington in 1950, and shortly thereafter, Louise married, changing her son's name to Theodore Robert Bundy. By the time he was a teenager living in Washington, Bundy already exhibited signs of the sadistic serial killer he would become. In interviews, he recalled being antisocial and wandering the streets looking for discarded pornography or open windows through which he could spy on unsuspecting women. He also had an extensive juvenile record for theft that was dismissed when he turned 18. Crime Museum. The Promising Young Man, a Mask of Normalcy. By 1972, Bundy had graduated college and showed great promise in a career in law or politics. Crime Museum. His intelligence and social skills enabled him to enjoy a successful college career, and he developed a series of apparently normal emotional relationships with women. He volunteered at a suicide crisis hotline in Seattle, where he notably worked alongside true crime author Ann Rule, who would later write one of the most important books about him. And he was active as a Republican Party campaign worker. Many wondered, how could a clean-cut law student with no criminal record be responsible for dozens of murders? He didn't fit the profile. University of Kentucky College of Arts and Sciences. Psychologists would later conclude that Bundy wore a mask of sanity, a trait common to psychopaths who lie with ease and are emotionally stable on the surface. University of Kentucky College of Arts and Sciences. The Rejected Lover and a Dark Turning Point. One of the most examined psychological threads in Bundy's story involves a woman known by the pseudonym Stephanie Brooks. She was his college girlfriend, educated, beautiful, and from a wealthy family. She broke up with him, reportedly viewing him as lacking ambition. Years later, Bundy reconnected with her after deliberately building himself up. Bundy later explained, "I just wanted to prove to myself that I could have married her." His biographer concluded that Bundy had deliberately planned his high-powered courtship so he could make her fall in love with him and then reject her, as she had once rejected him. By April 1974, Bundy had stopped attending law school entirely as young women began to disappear in the Pacific Northwest. Wikipedia. The killing campaign begins, 1974. No one knows when or where Bundy killed for the first time. It could have been during his teenage years or in his early 20s in the late 1960s. But by 1974, his prolific reign of terror and murder was definitively underway. FBI. His first known violent attack came on January 4, 1974, when he crept into the room of an 18-year-old girl and beat her while she was asleep, then sexually assaulted her with a metal rod. She survived, but remained in a coma and suffered permanent brain damage. Wikipedia. In between this time and June 1974, he killed 8 more women in Washington. In June, he kidnapped Janice Ott and Denise Nosland from a park near Seattle. Wikipedia. Witnesses recalled a charming young man calling himself Ted, walking with an arm in a sling near a tan Volkswagen Beetle. His method: charm as a weapon. Bundy preyed on women with a ruse, often wearing his arm in a sling or his leg in a fake cast and walking on crutches. He would use his charm and faked disability to convince his victims to help him carry books or unload objects from his car. He was also known to impersonate authority figures, such as police officers and firefighters, to gain victims' trust before he attacked. Crime Museum. Once they got to his 1968 tan Volkswagen Beetle, he would strike them over the head with a crowbar or pipe, immobilize them with handcuffs, and force them into the vehicle. He had removed the passenger seat, leaving an empty space on the floor for his victim to lie out of sight as he drove away. Crime Museum. As his biographer Stephen Michaud wrote, Ted lured females the way a lifeless silk flower can dupe a honeybee. Wikipedia. Spreading terror across states. In autumn 1974, Bundy moved to Utah to begin studying law at the University of Utah and began killing again in October. He kidnapped and killed 3 women that month, one of them the daughter of a police officer. Wikipedia. On November 8th, Bundy told a woman he was a police officer and told her to get in his car. She did, believing he was genuine. He attempted to handcuff her, but she fought back, jumped out of the car, and escaped. Bundy, furious at her escape, kidnapped another woman hours later and killed her. Wikipedia. He continued killing in Colorado throughout the first half of 1975. Wikipedia. First arrest and audacious escapes. On August 16, 1975, Bundy was arrested after failing to stop his car for police. When officers searched it, they found a ski mask, a crowbar, handcuffs, and trash bags. The police then realized his car matched the description given by his earlier attempted victim. He was sentenced to 15 years for kidnapping. Wikipedia. Then came 2 of the most brazen escapes in criminal history. In June 1977, during a preliminary murder hearing in Aspen, Colorado, Bundy jumped from a second-story window, jogged down Main Street, and disappeared. He was recaptured a few days later. FBI. He bided his time and seized another opportunity on New Year's Eve 1977, slipping through an opening in the ceiling of his cell and sneaking out through the jailer's office. A nationwide manhunt followed. The FBI added Bundy to their 10 most wanted fugitives on February 10, 1978. FBI. Florida. The final rampage. Bundy made his way to Florida, where his violence reached its most savage peak. On January 15, 1978, he invaded the Chi Omega sorority house on the Florida State University campus, where he bludgeoned 4 women and killed 2. IMDb. He fled the scene and shortly after attacked another woman at a nearby home. She survived. On February 9, 1978, he kidnapped 12-year-old Kimberly Leach, raped her, and killed her. Her body was found 8 weeks later in a state park. IMDb. Around 1:30 a.m. on February 15, 1978, a Pensacola police officer noticed a stolen Volkswagen Beetle and pulled it over. Bundy resisted but was taken into custody. The officer had no idea who was inside the car. FBI. Trial, marriage, and death row. Bundy's trial became a media spectacle. Despite the appalling nature of his crimes, Bundy became something of a celebrity, capturing public attention for his charm and intelligence. Encyclopedia Britannica. In one of the most bizarre moments in courtroom history, Bundy married Carol Ann Boone during his trial. Acting as his own attorney, he phrased a question to her on the stand such that her affirmation answer legally constituted marriage in front of a judge. Boone later gave birth to a daughter she said was Bundy's, despite the fact that conjugal visits are not permitted on death row. Historylink.org. He received 3 separate death sentences for the murders of 2 Chi Omega sorority members and 12-year-old Kimberly Leach. Biography. Confessions before execution. In the days before his execution, Bundy began confessing to dozens of murders in graphic detail, apparently hoping to delay his execution. He told FBI agent William Hagemeyer that he considered himself an amateur and impulsive killer in his early years, before moving into what he called his prime or predator phase, implying he began killing well before 1974, though he never explicitly admitted to those earlier crimes. Wikipedia. Before his execution, Bundy confessed to 20 murders of girls and young women, including at least 8 in Washington between 1973 and 1978. Historylink.org. Execution. On January 17, 1989, Florida Governor Bob Martinez signed the death warrant. He said, "Ted Bundy is one of the most notorious killers in our nation's history, and he has used legal maneuverings to dodge the electric chair for 10 years. Justice has been on hold for a decade." Historylink.org. Ted Bundy was executed in January 1989 at age 42. Biography. Crowds gathered outside the prison cheered when the announcement came. Legacy and true toll. Bundy admitted to killing 30 women in the 1970s, though some experts believe his actual victim count could exceed 100. Biography. Many cases were never solved, and Bundy took the full truth to his grave. Biographer Ann Rule characterized Bundy as a sadistic sociopath who took pleasure from another human's pain and the control he had over his victims to the point of death and even after. Wikipedia. Psychology researchers have since classified Bundy as a successful psychopath, someone with the core traits of antagonism, deception, and manipulation, yet possessing enough conscientiousness to function in society, hold relationships, and evade capture for years. University of Kentucky College of Arts and Sciences. His case forever changed how law enforcement profiles and hunts serial killers, and his name remains synonymous with the terrifying reality that evil does not always wear a monstrous face. Sometimes it wears a charming smile.